Oh, hello. In today's video, we're going to ask the question, is 10th edition 40k actually the best edition of 40k ever? So, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say, hang on, Phil, didn't you make a video a little while ago saying 10th edition was never going to live up to your expectations, Can't Patrol is dead, 40k is a bad game, it's always been a bad game, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I did. I'm not a hypocrite, okay? I stand by a lot of the things I said in that video. 40k is not objectively a good game if you compare it to, various European board games and even other war games. There are more modern games that are mechanically better games. But there are these of us out here, and I would say if you look at the market share of 40k, a massive number of us actually who love 40k because it's 40k, and a lot of those things, a lot of those imperfections that people seek to engineer away, the movement phase, the I go you go thing, those make 40k 40k, and if you got rid of them, you might have a better game, but it wouldn't be 40k anymore. If you don't like 40k, this video is not going to persuade you that you want to actually give 40k another look. But what I'm hoping to do is take those people who have at some point liked 40k and try and persuade them that actually, if you like 40k, this is probably the best edition of 40k. And GW do deserve some credit for that, right? They really, really do. So, what's set this off? Well, it's the Meta Watch. So I don't usually cover the 40k Meta Watches on my channel. This is, after all, a Kill Team channel, although obviously with the dearth of any Kill Team information, I have to find something to talk about. And if we look at the Meta Watches, we've got the Meta Watch from October on the right-hand side of your screen, and the Meta Watch from November on the left-hand side of your screen. We see that 40k is currently a really, really balanced game. Now, for those of you that remember, it launched in a mess, right? And you can validly say, Games Workshop, why did you launch 40k in such a state? But they fixed it. That first balanced data slate, by Jove, it really seems to have fixed 40k. Okay, if we look at the most recent balanced data slates on the left, we've got only two outliers outside their 55% to 45% win rate zone, and those are Eldari at the top on 57, Drukhari on the bottom on 44, and they're only outlined by a couple of percent either way, right? Now, they don't publish these tables for Kill Team anymore, but if you compare it to how Kill Team used to be, 40k is now such a balanced game. But more importantly than that, and I think requiring even more kudos than that, is I want you to compare these two. Since these came out, the data slate, there's not been a data slate between October and November. Orcs have just gone down into the pack, I think, because people have learned how to defeat orcs a little bit, right? But two codexes came out, Tyranids and Space Marines, and in previous editions of, the Tyranids and Space Marines have not had a big, it used to be the cycle of 40k codexes. You'd get a 40k codex, it was broken as all hell, it would dominate the game, and then it would get nerfed into the ground with an FAQ a month later. That was the regular cadence, like clockwork, from 8th and 9th. Codexes would come out, they were really awesomely broken, they'd beat face, and then they'd get nerfed into the ground, right? That happened again, and maybe not every single codex, but in general terms, that happened again and again and again. That's not happened this time, right? For Space Marines and Tyranids came out, and they have not been really overpowered on arrival. And from the early preview copies we've seen, it doesn't sound like Admech and Necrons are going to be broken on arrival as well. It sounds like they've actually got the balance really well dialed in for this edition of the game, and that really does deserve celebration. So here's a kudos for you, Games Workshop. You actually managed to do it, right? You have actually managed to release codexes which don't ultimately skew the meta for a month after they release. And a lot of people will talk about the negative and will explain what was happening when it was happening. But I've seen relatively few videos from people that have come out and said, actually, here's some good news, right? Everything seems to be going really well. The new codexes don't seem to be dominating versus the indexes. I think that's fantastic. I really do. And I really do think Games Workshop deserve credit for it. Now, so what that means is that they have said in their next balanced data slate. So they're going to do a balanced data slate with the next pass when it's due, but they're going to tackle mainly internal balance. I'll read the quote here. So, Stu and the studio aim to nudge these factions in the next point to review a balanced data slate. Then, the plan is to focus on internal balance. For while most factions are in the Goldilocks zone for win rates, some have only one or two really viable lists or playstyles. They plan changes that will expand datasheet diversity in the competitive scene, even as new codexes bring new detachments that support new ways to play. Now, this is absolutely revolutionary stuff for Games Workshop. Games Workshop has traditionally never ever cared about internal balance. That is to say, balance between the different choices within a codex or army book. Right? As long as your codex or army book can be played by competitive players in a way that makes it get a reasonable, a reasonably equitable win rate with all the other books, Games Workshop have hit, up until this point, called that a win. For them to actually focus on internal balance is it's revolutionary and amazing. I would get annoyed in the last edition of 40k where if you wanted to play Sisters and you wanted to not be hamstrung, you had to play Bloody Rose, and I just didn't like that order, right? And it was one of those things. That was the build. That was the build everybody played, and if you weren't playing that build, you weren't being a sort of serious contender of the game. It would be nice, I think, for Kill Team to get an internal balance pass. Not necessary, and I think Kill Team has fewer... Most teams have fewer moving parts, but it'd be nice if we got, like, a buff for Flamers. Like, it's one of those things where everybody knows Flamers are rubbish, so nobody takes them, and that's fine, and nobody really cares about it. But, imagine if they had the time, if they weren't... And Kill Team's not in this state. Kill Team is not as balanced. And in fairness to the Kill Team developers... There's so many more factions in Kill Team now. But Kill Team is not so balanced as to have the luxury, I don't think, of focusing on internal balance. But it is something that... It's definitely a nice to have. It's definitely nice to have a little bit more internal balance. Especially, I think, in Kill Team, I think it's probably less important because you buy your Kill Team and you have those models. And that is what it is. I think in 40k, it's really important because there are whole products, right? Whole kits, whole tanks, whole elite infantry squads that are just not viable. And that there may be some people out there feel like they can't buy them because they're not part of what is currently considered to be really good. Food for thought. So you might be wondering, I'm sounding really positive about 40k. What's the deal? I don't really mention 40k on the channel. I'm a Kill Team channel. Mention some other games sometimes, but very rarely 40k. Listen, I like 40k. 40k doesn't like me. So if you've been tuning into the hobby streams every Tuesday, you'll know I've been painting some Celestian Sacrosancts for my 40k Sisters of Battle army. I like 40k. I love 40k. I love the depth of hobby. If I was just doing Kill Team, I get pretty bored because there's no vehicles, there's no big centerpiece characters. It's just the same kind of basic infantry squad over and over and over again. 40k lets me paint sort of different scale models, and the spectacle of the mass battle game of having a painted 500 point, 1,000 point, 2,000 point army and having that all in front of you is really, really cool. It's really nice to see those things. Basically, the issue in my life is that I have basically no time to play 40k anymore because we've got a baby at home. My wife and I do both play, but we could only play when she's asleep because we have to get the whole big massive table out, and then you can't play a game of 40k in a couple of hours. It takes 3-4 hours to play through a game of 40k. At least that was... I'm sure the tournament players get it down quicker, but whereas Kill Team in a 2-hour slot seems like a reasonable ask, 40k in a 2-hour slot just doesn't seem like it's that level of reasonable ask, right? So this will remain a channel focused on smaller games, on skirmishy games, because that's what fits in. And I feel like there's a big cohort of us out there, right? Mainly dads, not all, but mainly dads, or people with or mums, or people with busy lives in other ways, loads of other competing hobbies, or a high stress job, or whatever it is, for whom skirmish games are just the thing that's going to be able to happen on a regular basis. I get that. That said, I do play 40k. I play about 6 games a year of 40k. I would love to play a couple more, but it is what it is. I'm going to be playing 40k on the 21st of December. Play boarding action with Zimbad. I usually play a game of 40k in most of the holidays. So, the half-term holidays, Christmas, Easter, summertime. Might cover that game on the channel, that boarding action game, and give you my thoughts on that, because I think boarding action perhaps certainly has relevance to kill team players, because a lot of us have at least 2 sets of that boarding action terrain, right? So we're able to get off with that. So look for that. I will be talking about that in the future, but don't get the impression because I don't talk about 40k, I don't care about 40k. I like 40k. I just, as people that follow who are members and watch the few member exclusive videos put out know, I recently downsized a lot of the 40k that I own. I have decided that I really can only sensibly maintain, complete, paint, and have one 40k army, one Horus Heresy army, and where I'm going to focus most of my hobby energy is collecting lots of different kill teams, because that's the game, the system that I mainly play. But 40k will always be there, lurking in the background, providing me with the ability to paint tanks and knights and awesome special characters and all these things. And I do enjoy it. I do like to keep an eye on it, and I am pleased that Games Workshop seems to be treating it well and have, I think, crafted probably the most balanced version of 40k going. So, listen, it's nice to make a positive video. I seem to have been stuck in a sort of Groundhog Day of making the same video, whining about the Games Workshop release schedule for Kill Team for like 4 weeks. Criticism is deserved when we're talking about something they've messed up, but praise and credit are also deserved when they do something really well. And the 40k rules writing team seems to have really knocked this one out of the park. I think that 40k is looking really, really balanced. But maybe you play it loads. Maybe you're a 40k once a week person. You play it quite a lot. How are you finding balance personally? Let me know in the comments. Is it as rosy a picture as the MetaWatch article is painting, or is the situation on the ground a bit more bleak? Now, with 40k, because there's so much of it, like, the data is pretty good. Because it's not like this is data just drawn from the World Championships, even though it was released to coincide with the World Championships. This data actually, comes from all games worldwide from BCP, which with 40k is quite a lot of games. But I'm still be interested in your personal anecdotes. How are you finding the balance of 40k? What's your lived experience? Do share that as well. Now, I should say I'm recording this a day in advance. Usually the video goes out on a Thursday, and usually I record things before I send them live. I'm recording this one on a Wednesday because I'm not available on Thursday. It's the school prize giving, so I'll be at work until very late. So if some big Kill Team related news happens, if that balanced data slate comes out and you're watching this thinking, why is he releasing a video talking about 40k when this is where I go for my Kill Team news and there's been big Kill Team news today? Well, that's why I'm not actually around today, Thursday, so such as it is, such as it is. But I hope you enjoyed the video anyway. I hope it's given you a little bit of a distraction and a little bit of things to think about. And has maybe sparked a little bit of conversation in the comments. If you like this sort of thing, do subscribe. It means a lot to me to subscribe. I'm trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, which is a long way away. It's an order of magnitude away. But it'd be really nice. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather at the moment, and it's dark and cold and horrible outside, and work's being a pain in the backside and all these things. So all the little positive interactions on YouTube, just think of it as smiling at me in the street. A subscription or a like. It doesn't cost you anything. Okay, now if you do want to financially support, there is membership and that as well, but I understand that's not for everybody, especially this time of year in this economy and all the rest of it. I get that. No one ever feel obligated to do that, but a subscription and a like would be much appreciated. All right, thanks, guys. I'll see you again at the weekend when, we can all hope that on Sunday I'll be reporting that Salvation has finally come up for Sunday pre-order. We live in hope. I guess hope can be a dangerous thing, but nevertheless, we live in hope. I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Have a great one. Bye-bye. Bye.